Futurism. Futurism was an avant-garde art movement that emerged in Italy in the early 20th century. It was officially launched with the publication of the Futurist manifesto by the Italian poet Filippo Tommaso Marinetti in 1909. Marinetti, along with other artists and intellectuals, sought to break away from traditional artistic forms and embrace the dynamism, speed, and energy of the modern world. The initial futuristic manifesto mirrored the intellectual response to the state of art in Italy, advocating for the dismantling of libraries, museums, academies, and historical cities, perceived as mausoleum-like. Futuristic artists drew inspiration from diverse sources such as Neo-Impressionism, Fauvism, and Cubism. Neo-Impressionists used small, distinct dots or strokes of color to create a harmonious and vibrant composition. In the context of Futurism, elements of Neo-Impressionism have been incorporated to convey the intensity and dynamism of modern life. The use of bold, dynamic colors in Futurist paintings could be seen as a continuation or extension of the Fauvist exploration of color as a means of emotional expression. The influence of Cubism in Futurist painting could be seen in the fragmentation and reassembly of forms, reflecting the chaotic and dynamic nature of modern urban environments. However, while Cubism focused on depicting multiple perspectives simultaneously, Futurism aimed to capture the dynamic nature of modern life. The core concept of Futurism was to capture the essence of modern life, characterized by speed, technology, and constant change. Futurist artists sought to represent the dynamism and energy of the modern world in their works. This often involved depicting movement, such as the speed of vehicles, the hustle and bustle of city life, or the energy of industrial processes. Futurism was not just an art movement, it was a cultural and social movement as well. Marinetti and other futurists expressed their ideas through a series of manifestos, outlining their beliefs and goals for the future. The movement celebrated the beauty of revolution, embracing the speed and dynamism of contemporary technology. Notably, Marinetti and his adherents, while rejecting the past and extolling the present and future, also incorporated elements of anarchism in their resistance against the bourgeoisie. Regrettably, the futurist ideals were later exploited by politicians to endorse fascism. With the outbreak of World War I, some futurists, including Marinetti, became supporters of war as a means of cleansing and rejuvenating society. This nationalist and militaristic aspect led to a division within the movement. While Futurism initially rejected political involvement, some futurists later aligned themselves with fascist ideologies. Marinetti, for instance, became a supporter of Benito Mussolini and the Fascist Party in Italy. This association led to a shift in focus from avant-garde art to politically motivated works. The movement faced criticism for its association with fascism and its glorification of war. Prominent members of the Futurist movement included Umberto Boccioni, Giacomo Balla, Gino Severini, and Carlo Cara. Futurism was a multifaceted movement and had a significant impact not only on visual arts but also on literature, music, and other fields, influencing the broader cultural landscape of the early 20th century. To some extent, Futurism influenced art movements like Art Deco, Constructivism, Surrealism, and Dada. Umberto Boccioni. Umberto Boccioni, 1882–1916, was an Italian painter and sculptor, and one of the principal figures of the Italian Futurist movement. Born in Reggio Calabria, Italy, Boccioni played a crucial role in shaping the aesthetic and theoretical foundations of Futurism. After 1898, he relocated to Rome and pursued art studies at the Academy of Fine Arts. Having developed a strong artistic foundation and delving into the classics through Impressionism, he became student of Giacomo Balla. Balla, known for his focus on the modern divisionist technique, emphasized painting with divided colors rather than mixing them, breaking the painted surface into a composition of stippled dots and stripes. In 1906, a brief stay to Paris exposed him to Impressionist and Post-Impressionist styles, and in 1907 the artist returned back to Italy, moving to Milan. Boccioni, along with other notable figures such as Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, Giacomo Balla, Carlo Carra, and Luigi Russolo, co-authored the Futurist Manifesto in 1910, outlining the principles of the movement. Umberto Boccioni's theory of dynamism was a central component of the Futurist movement, and it played a significant role in shaping the artistic principles of Futurist art. Here are some key elements of Boccioni's theory of dynamism. Modernity and technology. Boccioni, along with other Futurists, embraced the technological advancements and the fast-paced, dynamic nature of the modern industrial world. They saw the machine age as a source of inspiration for artistic expression and sought to capture the essence of modern life in their works. Dynamism and movement. Central to Boccioni's theory was the concept of dynamism, which emphasized the representation of movement, speed, and energy in art. He believed that traditional static forms were inadequate in conveying the vitality of the contemporary world. Instead, Boccioni aimed to express the dynamic aspects of his subjects, whether human figures, objects, or the urban environment. Simultaneity and multiple perspectives. Boccioni advocated for the representation of multiple perspectives and simultaneous views within a single artwork. This approach was influenced by the Futurist interest in the theory of relativity and the idea that time and space are interconnected. By depicting objects or figures from different angles within the same composition, Boccioni sought to convey a sense of movement and capture the unfolding of time. Synthesis of form and space. Boccioni was interested in the fusion of form and space, breaking away from traditional notions of sculptural and painterly representation. In his sculpture, Unique Forms of Continuity in Space, he created a sense of movement by sculpting the figure in a streamlined, abstract manner, eliminating unnecessary details and emphasizing the continuity of form through space. Dynamic lines and force lines. Boccioni utilized dynamic, swirling lines to suggest motion and energy in his paintings and sculptures. These lines, often referred to as force lines. The use of dynamic lines was a departure from the static, straight lines of traditional art. Boccioni was not only a theorist but also a skilled artist who explored various media, including painting and sculpture. Tragically, Boccioni's life was cut short during World War I. He died in 1916, at the age of 33, as a result of injuries sustained during a cavalry training exercise. Despite his short life, Boccioni left a lasting impact on the development of modern art, and his contributions to the Futurist movement continue to be studied and admired today. Umberto Boccioni. The City Rises. Created in 1910, this painting is housed in the Museum of Modern Art, New York, and is considered one of the masterpieces of Futurism. In the foreground, the painting prominently features a horse in full stride, with workers attempting to control it. This chaotic scene reflects the intersection of nature, the horse, and human industry, symbolizing the struggle and tension between the two. The conflict between the horse and the workers can be interpreted as a metaphor for the broader societal tensions of the time. The horse, a symbol of nature and untamed energy, represents the primal forces in conflict with the controlled, industrialized world of humans. The intentional blurring of both the horse and human figures conveys a sense of speed and movement. This technique aligns with the futurist fascination with capturing the essence of speed and the rapid pace of modern life, reflecting advancements in technology and industry. While the figures in the foreground are blurred and abstract, the background buildings are rendered with more realism. This duality in representation underscores the contrast between the organic, uncontrolled energy symbolized by the horse and the structured, ordered environment of the city. The use of fragmented forms, overlapping shapes, and a sense of simultaneity reflects the influence of Cubism on Boccioni's work. Boccioni used colors in a way that contributes to the overall intensity of the scene. The color palette is bold and vibrant, with a mix of warm and cool tones. The painting is characterized by a divisionist technique, where colors are applied in small, distinct dots or strokes, creating a sense of luminosity and movement. The representation of speed in the city rises is a characteristic feature of Futurist art. Artists like Boccioni were interested in capturing the sensation of movement and the impact of speed on perception. The blurred figures and dynamic composition contribute to this representation of the speed and chaos of urban life. In summary, The City Rises is a complex and dynamic work that encapsulates the Futurist movement's enthusiasm for modernity, speed, and the transformative nature of the early 20th century. The symbolism, techniques, and thematic elements in the painting make it a significant piece in the evolution of modern art. Umberto Boccioni. The street enters the house. The painting, created in 1912, is currently housed in the Sprinel Museum in Hanover, Germany. The central theme of the painting revolves around a woman, dressed in blue and white hues, standing on a balcony, observing workers in the process of constructing a site directly beneath her. With her back turned, the woman leans precariously, creating a sense of vertigo for the viewer. Stretching to both the right and left sides of the canvas are apartment buildings, each with balconies from which two additional human figures emerge. These onlookers, positioned on their respective balconies, share the woman's curiosity, casting their eyes upon the diligent workers and the unfolding construction of a building. The construction site itself is a hive of activity, with builders working rapidly to construct the building, and even horses carrying the materials. Various elements such as beams, bricks, and industrious figures are meticulously depicted, illustrating the dynamic process of building. The scene not only portrays the physical construction but also hints at the social dynamics of individuals observing the transformation of their surroundings. Through a careful interplay of elements, the artist captures the intricate layers of urban life, offering a rich and detailed narrative within the confines of the canvas. The composition captures the dynamic transformation of urban life in the early 20th century. It reflects Boccioni's interest in depicting the impact of modernity on traditional living spaces and the intersection of the external environment with the domestic sphere. Boccioni employs a bold and expressive use of color. Warm tones dominate the street scene, conveying a sense of activity and vibrancy. The light streaming in from the street illuminates the interior, creating a dynamic interplay of light and shadow. The contrast between the luminous exterior and the darker interior enhances the visual impact and adds depth to the composition. The most striking aspect of the painting is the seamless integration of the external street scene with the interior of the house. Boccioni dissolves the boundaries between the two, suggesting a fluid and interconnected relationship. This spatial fusion reflects the influence of Cubism and Futurism, where artists sought to depict multiple perspectives simultaneously. Boccioni's painting can be interpreted as a commentary on the shifting dynamics of urban life. The intrusion of the street into the home may suggest the eroding boundaries between public and private life, a theme resonant with the broader societal changes occurring during the early 20th century. This painting exemplifies Boccioni's ability to capture the essence of his time and offers viewers a glimpse into the evolving relationship between individuals and the rapidly transforming urban environment. Umberto Boccioni. Unique forms of continuity in space. Boccioni's sculpture Unique Forms of Continuity in Space was originally created in plaster. The artist sculpted the piece in 1913 as a unique plaster version. While the plaster version is the primary and original work, bronze casts were made posthumously to preserve and share Boccioni's masterpiece with a broader audience. Boccioni's original plaster sculpture is preserved and displayed at the Contemporary Museum of Art in São Paulo, Brazil. In 1931, 2 bronze casts were made. One of these is exhibited at the Museum of Modern Art in Manhattan, US. 2 additional bronze casts were produced in 1949. One of these is housed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, while the other finds its place at the Museum of 20th Century in Milan, Italy. In 1972, 2 bronze casts were created, one of which is displayed at the Tate Modern in London. Another 8 casts were also produced in the same year, but these were not directly derived from the original plaster. Instead, they were based on one of the 1949 bronze casts. One bronze cast is located at the Kröller-Müller Museum in Otterlo, Netherlands. In 2014, a bronze cast was donated to the National Gallery of Cosenza, Italy. This masterpiece is considered one of the most iconic works of the Futurist movement. The sculpture symbolizes the human figure transformed and streamlined by the forces of modernity. The sculpture is a representation of a striding figure, and it captures the essence of movement and speed. Boccioni aimed to convey a sense of continuity, suggesting the fluidity and forward momentum of the human body in motion. The figure appears to be moving rapidly through space, and its sleek, streamlined form reflects the futurist fascination with technology and the machine age. Boccioni's interest is exploring the relationship between art and the rapidly changing modern world. The emphasis on motion and the breaking down of form into abstract, dynamic shapes aligns with the Futurist manifesto's call for a new aesthetic that would capture the energy of contemporary life. The figure's face is intentionally obscured, suggesting a focus on the universal and timeless aspects of human experience rather than individual identity. Boccioni skillfully plays with positive and negative space in the sculpture. The voids created within and around the figure contribute to a sense of openness and movement, reinforcing the idea of continuity and progression. Crafted with meticulous attention to detail, the sculpture transcends the boundaries of static art, capturing the spirit of movement and progression. The sleek, streamlined figure seems to defy gravity, embodying the perpetual flow of time and energy. Boccioni's innovative approach to form and movement in sculpture challenged traditional notions of static representation. It has left a lasting impact on the world of modern and contemporary art, influencing subsequent generations of sculptors and artists exploring the intersection of form, movement, and technology. Giacomo Balla. Giacomo Balla, 1871–1958, was an Italian painter and sculptor and a key figure in the Italian Futurist movement. Born in Turin, Italy, Balla played a crucial role in the development and promotion of Futurism, an avant-garde art movement that emerged in the early 20th century. The artist attended the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Turin at the age of 18. His early works were influenced by the divisionist movement, characterized by the use of small, distinct dots of color to create a greater sense of luminosity. Artists like Seurat and Signoc were prominent figures in the divisionist movement, and their impact can be seen in Balla's early works. Balla's life took a significant turn when he encountered the ideas of the Futurist movement. Founded by Filippo Tommaso Marinetti in 1909, Futurism celebrated modernity, technology, and the dynamism of contemporary urban life. Balla quickly embraced these ideas, becoming one of the leading figures of the Futurist movement. Under the influence of the Futurists, Balla moved away from traditional artistic techniques and began to explore new ways of expressing the energy and speed of modern life. The Futurist emphasis on capturing movement and dynamism greatly impacted his approach to art. Balla was deeply influenced by the scientific and technological developments of his time. His interest in depicting motion, speed, and the effects of light can be linked to the broader cultural fascination with progress and innovation in the early 20th century. Giacomo Balla continued to create art and participate in the Futurist movement throughout his career. After World War I, he gradually moved away from the more radical aspects of Futurism and explored other styles, including a return to more traditional forms of painting. Balla also worked as a sculptor and designer, contributing to various applied arts projects. The artist, who left a lasting impact with his innovative approach to capturing motion and energy, continues to be studied and appreciated for his contribution to the development of modern art. Giacomo Balla. The Dynamism of a Dog on a Leash. The artwork, created in 1912, is currently housed at the Albright Knox Art Gallery in Buffalo, New York. The painting depicts a small black dog on a leash, being taken for a walk. Giacomo Balla masterfully captures the concept of rapid motion through the depiction of the dog and the woman's feet. The artist employs several visual techniques to convey the dynamic movement. One of the key elements of the painting is the multiplication of forms. The legs of both the woman and the dachshund are depicted in multiple positions, creating a sense of continuous motion. This technique gives the impression that the subjects are moving rapidly, and the viewer sees a sequence of positions rather than a static image. The use of fragmented and repetitive forms in the painting is characteristic of Futurism, a movement that sought to represent the energy and speed of the modern world. The artist breaks down the subject into a series of geometric shapes and lines, creating a sense of rhythm and movement that reflects the Futurist fascination with the dynamism of contemporary life. The rapid movement of the dog and the woman is emphasized by the blurring of shapes. Barla uses blurred outlines and overlapping forms to suggest speed. This technique is particularly evident in the depiction of the legs, where the edges of the forms are not sharply defined, contributing to the illusion of motion. The repetition of legs and paws further enhances the feeling of speed. As the dog walks alongside the woman, its legs and paws are repeated in a rhythmic pattern, creating a dynamic visual effect. Similarly, the woman's legs are depicted in multiple positions, reinforcing the idea of continuous movement. Barla, like other futurist artists, was influenced by the concept of chronophotography, a photographic technique that captures multiple frames of motion in a single image. This influence is evident in the way Barla breaks down the movement of the dog into a sequence of overlapping shapes, similar to the frames in a motion picture. The subject matter, featuring a woman walking a dachshund, adds a playful and relatable element to the dynamic composition. The choice of an ordinary scene, with a dog, juxtaposed with the avant-garde representation of motion, highlights the futurist interest in combining everyday life with modern artistic concepts. Giacomo Barla. Abstract Speed and Sound. This painting, created in 1913, currently is housed at the Peggy Guggenheim Museum in Venice, Italy. The artwork aims to capture the sensory experience of a racing car in motion. These is a trilogy, consisting of 3 paintings, with each piece contributing to the narrative of the passage of a racing car. The first painting in the series is titled Abstract Speed and Landscape, the second is Abstract Speed and Sound, and the third is Abstract Speed, the car has passed. Abstract Speed and Sound showcases Barla's interest to convey not only the visual experience of speed but also the auditory sensations associated with it. The composition suggests a fusion of visual and auditory elements. The use of streaks and speed lines in the painting conveys a sense of rapid motion. These lines, often associated with the movement of fast vehicles, contribute to the overall dynamism of the artwork. The dynamic lines and shapes in the composition can be interpreted as visual representations of sound waves. Barla seeks to convey the auditory experience of speed, integrating the visual and sonic dimensions in a synesthetic manner. Barla employs a multidimensional perspective, capturing the subject from various angles simultaneously. This technique aligns with the movement's desire to represent the modern experience in all its multifaceted dimensions. The use of color is vibrant and intense, contributing to the overall luminosity of the composition. Bright, contrasting hues evoke a sense of energy and intensity, reinforcing the idea of speed and dynamic motion. The painting depicts the technological advancements of the time, particularly the speed and sound associated with the rise of automobiles and other machinery. It reflects the futurist fascination with the transformative effects of modern technology. Abstract Speed and Sound reveals Barla's experimentation with abstraction. The painting moves away from representational art, embracing abstraction as a means to express the intangible qualities of speed and sound. The painting remains a pivotal work in the history of abstract art, illustrating the transformative potential of artistic expression in response to the evolving nature of modern life. Gino Severini. Gino Severini, 1883 to 1966, was an Italian painter and a leading figure in the Futurist movement, which emerged in the early 20th century. He was born in Cortona, Italy, and later moved to Rome, where he studied at the Academy of Fine Arts. Severini initially drew inspiration from the Italian Renaissance masters, including artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Paolo Uccello. The classical proportions, use of color, and attention to anatomical detail in Renaissance art had a lasting impact on Severini's early works. In the year 1900, he encountered Boccioni, and together they explored Giacomo Barla's studio. They were introduced to the divisionism technique at Barla's studio, which involved using small, distinct dots or strokes of color that, when viewed from a distance, blended to create a harmonious image. This influence is visible in some of Severini's pre-Futurist works from 1910 to 1911. By November 1906, Severini had moved in Paris, taking up residence in Montmartre and dedicating his time to painting. It was during this period that he crossed paths with many emerging artists of the time. Invited by Filippo Tommaso Marinetti and Boccioni, Severini became a part of the Futurist movement. He, along with Barla, Boccioni, Carlo Carra, and Luigi Russolo, co-signed the Manifesto of the Futurist Painters in 1910 and was actively engaged in the group's activities. Futurist artists aimed to capture the dynamism and energy of the modern world in their works. The use of fragmented forms, dynamic lines, and a focus on movement became hallmarks of Severini's Futurist style. The artist was also influenced by Cubism, particularly during the early 1910s. Artists such as Picasso and Braque, who were at the forefront of the Cubist movement, explored the representation of three-dimensional objects in a fragmented, abstract manner. He incorporated Cubist elements into his works, experimenting with multiple perspectives and geometric shapes. Severini moved away from the radical experimentation of Futurism in 1916 and in the post-World War I period. He began incorporating more traditional elements into his paintings, inspired by his interest in early Renaissance art and neoclassicism. This shift was reflective of a broader trend in the art world as artists sought a return to more classical and balanced compositions. After World War I, the figure of the Harlequin, a character from the Italian commedia dell'arte tradition, became a recurring motif in Severini's paintings. The Harlequin, known for its colorful and checkered costume, allowed Severini to explore the expressive potential of color and form, reflecting influences from the Italian Renaissance. Gino Severini's ability to integrate and evolve from these diverse influences showcases his versatility as an artist. His exploration from the classical influences of the Italian Renaissance to the avant-garde experimentation of Futurism and, later, to a more classical style demonstrates his adaptability and ongoing exploration of artistic expression throughout his career. Gino Severini. Dynamic hieroglyphic of the Bal to Baron. The painting, created in 1912, currently resides in the Museum of Modern Art, New York. The central focus of the artwork are lively dancing women, one with curled blonde hair and bare shoulders, donning a vibrant pink, blue, and purple dress that contrasts with the dark-haired and white-clad woman. The swirling patterns of real sequins on the dress add a tactile and visual dimension to the painting, contributing to the overall play of light and movement. Adjacent to them, a man wearing a hat, black and white attire engages in the dance. The composition also has the words polka, a Bohemian folk dance, and valse, Waltz. The painting is a representation of the Bal de Baron, a famous cabaret in Paris. The Bal de Baron was a popular venue known for its lively performances, including music, dance, and other entertainment. Severini's fascination with the dance hall as a subject reflects the Futurist interest in capturing multisensory experiences. The depiction of dance, music, and the vivid atmosphere of the nightclub contributes to the painting's immersive quality. The composition of the painting is highly dynamic, reflecting the influence of Futurist principles. Severini captures the sense of movement and rhythm through the fragmentation of forms and the use of vibrant colors. The use of the Cubist technique of collage involves incorporating different materials, such as real sequins, onto the canvas. This technique aligns with Cubist principles of breaking down traditional artistic boundaries and exploring new ways of representing reality. The addition of real sequins not only introduces a tactile element but also contributes to the play of light and texture in the painting. The use of repetition, along with the Cubist technique, creates a kaleidoscopic effect. This technique not only captures the frenzied excitement of the Paris nightclub but also enhances the sense of movement and dynamism in the composition. Severini also employed a technique known as divisionism or pointillism. This involved the use of small, distinct dots or strokes of color applied in patterns to create a sense of luminosity and movement. This technique was not only visually striking but also aligned with the Futurist interest in capturing motion. The image of an Arab riding a camel and flags conveying sentiments of nationalism indicates Severini's incorporation of contemporary events and political themes. The reference to the Turkish-Italian War of 1911 may suggests a connection between the painting and broader geopolitical contexts. The presence of elements, such as a realistic nude riding a pair of scissors, adds an element of surrealism and whimsy to the composition. This departure from strict representation and reality aligns with avant-garde tendencies to challenge conventional artistic norms and invite viewers to engage with the painting on a more conceptual or imaginative level. The use of nonsensical elements can create an interactive and playful experience for the viewer. It encourages interpretation and imagination, allowing individuals to engage with the artwork in a more subjective and personal way. The term hieroglyphic in the title suggests a symbolic or coded language. Severini intended for the fragmented and abstract elements in the painting to serve as symbols, communicating the energy and excitement of the Bal de Baron in a visual language. The composition is a complex and multi-layered work that combines elements of cubism, divisionism, symbolism, futurism, and collage techniques to capture the vibrant and dynamic atmosphere of a Paris nightclub, while incorporating broader socio-political themes and contemporary events. Severini's innovative approach and integration of various elements contribute to the painting's significance in the context of early 20th century avant-garde art. Gino Severini. Armored Train in Action. The painting, created in 1915, currently resides in the Museum of Modern Art, New York. The painting portrays 5 faceless figures inside a militarized locomotive, aligned with their rifles, set against a backdrop where smoke from gunfire and cannon blasts obscures the natural landscape. This depiction reflects the Futurists' enthusiasm for war and technology, aligning with their broader interest in machines as symbols of progress and the destructive power of modern warfare. The scene captures the energy, power, and speed of a military train in action, emphasizing the Futurists' preoccupation with the rapid transformations occurring in society during that period. The Futurists were known for embracing technological advancements as a means of breaking away from traditional artistic forms. They believed that by expressing the speed and intensity of contemporary life, they could capture the essence of the modern era. In this context, the militarized train becomes a symbol of both progress and the destructive force of war, embodying the dual nature of technological advancements. Severini employs a Cubist-inspired technique in the painting, breaking down the image into geometric shapes and angular lines. This technique is characteristic of the Futurist movement, aiming to convey the speed and chaos of the train in motion. The dynamic composition, bold colors, and fragmented forms contribute to the overall sense of movement and urgency within the artwork. The choice of an aerial view enhances the perception of the train's rapid movement and the intense activity happening within it. The Futurist movement had a complex relationship with war. While some artists within the movement embraced the excitement and dynamism of warfare, others were critical or ambivalent. Armored Train in Action represents a time when artists were captivated by speed, technological advancements, and the spectacle of military machinery. In summary, Severini's Armored Train in Action remains a significant work of Futurist art, showcasing the movement's unique perspective and its exploration of themes related to technology, war, and the impact of modernization on society. Gino Severini. Dancer, Propeller, c. This painting, created in 1915, is currently housed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York. It is a lozenge painting, a work of art that is shaped like a diamond or rhombus. In the context of art, the term lozenge describes a shape that has 4 equal sides and is tilted at a 45-degree angle. Lozenge paintings often deviate from the traditional rectangular or square canvas, offering artists a unique format to explore. Severini employs a Cubo-Futurist style, which is a combination of Cubist fragmentation and Futurist dynamism. The human figure, the propeller, and the sea are depicted with angular and fragmented forms, suggesting motion and speed. In this painting, Severini explores the connection of various elements: the human figure, the mechanical world, symbolized by the propeller, and the natural world, represented by the sea. The title suggests an equivalence or fusion between these elements, emphasizing the idea that modern life, technology, and nature are all interconnected and influence one another. The synthesis of the dancer, the propeller, and the sea in this painting illustrates the Futurist belief in the transformative power of technology and its integration with human experience. The color palette is vibrant and bold, with a mix of warm and cool tones. The use of complementary colors enhances the visual impact and adds to the sense of movement. Severini uses overlapping shapes, lines, and colors to create a dynamic composition. The fragmented forms convey a sense of movement and speed, contributing to the overall kinetic energy of the painting. Viewers may find it challenging to keep their gaze within a traditional frame, contributing to a sense of visual instability and motion. In conclusion, the use of an unusual shape aligns with the Futurist movement's broader exploration of new artistic forms and expressions. The Futurists were fascinated by the speed and energy of the modern age, and they sought to capture these qualities in their artworks. In this painting, Severini uses fragmented and dynamic forms to convey a sense of movement and rhythm. The overlapping shapes and lines create a visual dynamism that reflects the artist's engagement with the Futurist manifesto. Carlo Carra. Carlo Carra, 1881 to 1966, was an Italian painter and a leading figure in the Futurist movement, which emerged in Italy in the early 20th century. Born in Quagnon, near Alessandria, Piedmont, Carra initially studied at the Brera Academy in Milan, where he developed a strong interest in the artistic and cultural developments of the time. Carra was one of the co-founders of the Futurist movement along with Giacomo Balla, Umberto Boccioni, Gino Severini, and Luigi Russolo. The Futurists were focused on capturing the dynamism and energy of the modern industrial world in their art. However, Carra began to distance himself from the more extreme aspects of Futurism in the early 1910s. He became more interested in the classical tradition and started incorporating elements of Cubism into his work. Carra, along with Giorgio de Chirico, whom he met in 1917, in Ferrara, played a key role in the development of metaphysical art, characterized by dreamlike and mysterious scenes. The movement had a significant impact on surrealism and inspired artists like Salvador Dali and René Magritte. Metaphysical painting was a term coined by de Chirico to describe the work of both himself and Carra. Their paintings shared common elements such as classical architecture, long shadows, and enigmatic, often desolate, cityscapes and mannequin imagery. During the 1920s and 1930s, Carra continued to evolve as an artist, exploring various styles and themes. He was associated with the Return to Order movement, which sought a return to traditional artistic values after the experimental avant-garde movements of the early 20th century. Carra had a significant impact as a teacher. He taught at the Academy of Fine Arts in Milan and wrote extensively on art theory. His theoretical writings, including essays and manifestos, provide insights into his thoughts on the role of art in society and his evolving artistic philosophy. Carra's influence on 20th-century Italian art is considerable, and his works are featured in major art collections and museums around the world. Carlo Carra. The Funeral of the Anarchist Galley. The artwork, created in 1911, currently is housed in the Museum of Modern Art, New York. The painting depicts the funeral of Angelo Galli, an Italian anarchist who died in a clash with the police during a workers' strike in 1906. The strike was a response to the use of force by the Milanese Royal Guard against a group of protesters, resulting in casualties. His death was a pivotal event that fueled the tensions between labor activists and industrialists during that period. This historical incident reflects the broader socio-political context of the time, marked by labor struggles, social unrest, and the activism of the anarchist movement in Italy. Carlo Carra, associated with the Milanese anarchist movement during that period, was present at the funeral. At the heart of Carra's painting is Galli's coffin, draped in red cloth. Surrounding the coffin are shadowy figures representing the anarchists, seemingly caught in a struggle. Two light sources, emanating from the sun and the coffin, illuminate these figures, underscoring Galli's central role in the painting. On the left side of the painting, police cavalry confronts the anarchists. The top third of the artwork is dominated by dark, diagonal lines, symbolizing banners, lances, flagpoles and cranes. Kara's composition is characterized by dynamic diagonals and swirling forms, reflecting the influence of Futurist principles. The figures are in constant motion, conveying a sense of energy and unrest. They are distorted and fragmented, reflecting also the influence of Cubist. The composition is intentionally disorienting, emphasizing the chaos of the funeral scene. The colors are bold and intense, contributing to the overall sense of drama and urgency in the scene. The red color, in particular, stands out and is often associated with the revolutionary fervor of the anarchist movement. It symbolizes both passion and bloodshed. Kara employs a chiaroscuro technique, using contrasting light and dark areas to enhance the dramatic effect. The limited color palette, dominated by reds and earth tones, adds intensity to the scene. The funeral procession is depicted with a mix of reverence and agitation, capturing the conflicting emotions surrounding political activism and social change. Kara captures the tension of the moment by depicting a crowd that is simultaneously mourning and expressing anger or dissent. The painting expressed the socio-political context of the time. Angelo Galli represents the broader struggle for workers' rights and social justice. The artwork remains an important example of Italian Futurism, capturing a moment of social upheaval and political tension. It reflects the broader cultural and artistic shifts occurring in early 20th century Italy. Carlo Cara, The Enchanted Room. The painting, created in 1917, is currently housed in the Pinacoteca di Brera, Milan. The artwork is part of Cara's metaphysical period, a departure from Futurism. Metaphysical art explored dreamlike and symbolic imagery, influenced by the artist Giorgio de Chirico. The artist reconsidered the objects, commonly used by de Chirico, such as mannequins, toys, and fish, aiming to discover fresh connections between space and volumes, as well as between colors and plastic structures. One notable feature of the Enchanted Room is the absence of human figures. The deserted room and the disconnected mannequin parts evoke a sense of solitude and contemplation. This absence allows viewers to project their own interpretations onto the scene. The composition exudes a sense of timelessness. The dreamy quality of the scene creates an atmosphere where past, present, and future seem to coexist, reinforcing the metaphysical nature of the painting. This painting aligns with the principles of metaphysical art, a movement associated with Giorgio de Chirico and Carlo Cara. The Enchanted Room marks a shift in Cara's style, moving away from the explicit political engagement of Futurism to a more introspective and symbolic exploration. The artwork foreshadows the surrealist movement that would emerge later in the 20th century. The dreamlike qualities, surreal atmosphere, and symbolic elements in Cara's work share similarities with the themes explored by surrealist artists.